Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the Budget Committee for fiscal year 2024-25 to order, and we'll start. Join me in the selection. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Colby.
Our student counselor Hill is absent. Member Whitchurch is absent. Member Coastal.
Here.
Member Brackenham.
Here.
Member Luis Contreras is absent. Member Bruner.
Here.
Mayor Wall.
Here.
Counselor Ott.
Here.
Counselor Donahue.
Here.
Counselor Eager.
Here.
Counselor Astorga.
Here.
Counselor Hofer.
Here.
And Counselor Fowler.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Our first item of business is to elect our Budget Committee Chair, and I will entertain nominations for Budget Committee Chair.
I nominate Christie.
I second.
Nomination of Chrissy Brackenreed by Member Kozel and seconded by Member Bruner. Are there any further nominations? Was rigged.
Always.
Okay, I'll call for the question then.
All right. Counselor Fowler.
Aye.
Student Counselor Hill is absent. Member Whitchurch is absent. Member Coastal.
Aye.
Member Brackenham.
Here. I
knew what you meant. Member Ortiz Contreras is absent. Member Bruner.
Aye.
Mayor Wall.
Aye.
Counselor Ott.
Aye.
Counselor Donahue.
Aye.
Counselor Eager.
Aye.
Counselor Astorga.
Aye.
Counselor Hofer. Aye.
I'll turn it over to the chair.
All right, so we'll first open it up for public comment. If any attendee in the audience or online wishes to make a public comment, please make yourself known by stating your name. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. Do we have anybody online?
No, there's nobody online.
Okay. So we will close the comments, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Chief Daniels, our city manager, for the budget message.
Thank you. So everybody received the budget message about 2 weeks ago or so. Is there anybody here who wants me to read this word for word out of the budget book?
You could read it in Lionel Richie voice.
No.
Morgan Freeman.
Sean Connery. Christopher Walken.
I'm getting closer. No.
Forrest Gump.
Okay, so I'm getting to the budget committee. They don't want to hear this.
Okay,
So thank you very much. It's all right.
If we have questions within your budget message, can we ask them?
Yeah, absolutely.
So on page 7, the collection rate of 96%.
Yes,
Do we ever collect any of the 4% that is not collected?
it dwindles in over time, sometimes. But most of the time, because it is kind of an average, my understanding is that's the rate that we use, and that's the rate that's the county, that's the information we get from the county. Is that correct?
Part of it is uncollectible, but the majority of that is the discount that people get when they prepay the full amount, right? There's a 3% discount for paying up front. So that's 3% of the 4% that we don't ever collect because it's a discount.
So there's, I will
So
say
it's
that,
minor.
yeah, I will say that as people pay their taxes throughout the year, it does trickle in. There are tax monies that trickle in over time. It's not like we get a lump sum and it's 96% of everything that the county says, but over time, yeah.
I have one more question, so on page, fees. It talks about the surplus funds, so what account is that going to?
It's an account in each fund,
Each fund?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
And it's in each fund that is allowed by law. So let me put it that way, because the SDC funds aren't allowed to have contingencies. So they don't get to have reserve for future either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we have Tara? All right, Tara.
All right. So you all received the questions and answers from yesterday, I hope, and had time to read through them. I really appreciate getting those ahead of time. I know some of those questions were really quick answers for me, but some of them took a lot of time for me to answer because I wanted to answer them thoroughly. So giving me the chance to give you a full answer up front is really helpful for me, and I'm not trying to wing it or have to get back to you. So thank you for those. I do have something prepared to go line by line. But before we jump into the accounts, where I highlight the big differences, I did want to go over the introduction section. You will find some alterations from previous years. Changes other than data that fluctuates from year to year are based on feedback from the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award process. So on the first change you'll see is on page 13. Goals and work plans. Dates were added for the objectives under employee retention because we've completed them. I may have misstated, but we did complete and we did get to an average of 4 years a couple of years ago, and we are on track as long as we keep our current employees to do that again this year. So the remaining goals and objectives were the focus of departmental goals and performance measures you will see later in the document. Then on page 28, a paragraph under debt service funds was added to explain that the city's debt limit in formula and numbers. According to the limit set by our financial management policies, city charter and state statute. Wow, I'm really struggling with my words today. On page 31, you will see a chart that shows the relationship between the departments and the funds that they oversee. And then on page 33, after the chart titled Changes in City Personnel Levels, is an explanation of changes in staffing from year to year. Goals and performance measures in each department budget were overhauled to align with city council goals. You will see these on page 42, 45, 48, 51, and 60. After each account list is a chart that is a breakdown of classifications, while at the end of the general fund and the total budget, the breakdown is shown as a pie chart. I don't have those page numbers listed out, but they're on a lot of pages. And finally, in the capital improvement program, starting on page 80, is text about the impacts of planned capital projects on the current and future budgets. My hope is that these additions will make reading this document easier and more understandable, all while satisfying the requirements of the GFOA award program. Now I'm going to go through and highlight all the account changes. So we can start on, yeah.
Before you move on, just so I'm clear on something, our
the debt service funds, so the debt limit is the maximum amount of bonding authority that we could ever go for at a single point, correct?
Let me read it again, because I don't,
28 in the middle,
page 28.
yeah, the debt service limit.
Well, no, you can have more because it's, that debt limit is just for general obligation bonds.
Okay.
So I guess the city, if they wanted to have more than that, in other kind of debt.
Okay.
Any other questions before I go through? Okay. I'm gonna start on page 43, the admin department. Increases in expenses are reflections of what we are currently experiencing in the current budget or have been told to expect via notices of price increases. For example, transient lodging tax revenues so far this year are $3,640. But also during this year, we have been made aware that several locations for short-term rentals have closed, making next year's revenue uncertain. I also need to ask for a correction to computer supplies and services. Instead of being 25,000, I would like to ask that to be $40,000. I forgot the bill that we pay in June. Decreases in the admin department are usually indicative of project completions, such as in telephone with a new phone system purchase and installation this year, and building maintenance with the city hall remodel completion, and in computer equipment, the purchase of the new server. I'm done with admin. Is there anything that didn't get touched on that you had questions? I'm just gonna let you interrupt me. Go ahead.
How did our consultant services go from 3,800 to 30,000? Just kind of found that,
30,000 to nothing?
no, to,
Yeah,
yeah, from 30,000 to nothing. What was the consultant?
We had planned for a strategic plan this year and it didn't happen. And at this point, I haven't heard any interest in it. So, and Mark, if we do it, Mark Daniel said he would take it on and do it in-house, I think.
So that 30,000 is gonna roll over, or is that already been spent?
No, we didn't spend anything. Was there another question? Thought I saw hand raised. Okay. So I'm gonna move to the police department. Page 46. Increases in telephone and utilities is reflecting our current experience and expenses, where increases in membership and dues, chaplain services, and travel training and certification is for new or different opportunities that are available. This coming fiscal year marks the beginning of negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement with the Mount Angel Police Association, which requires the use of our labor attorney and the associated fees. Decreases in employee benefits is a difference in personnel selections. I think actually, now that somebody asked that, I need to amend my explanation of why employee benefits is lower this year. And I think that was because of the way the spreadsheet was looking at the increases year over year. So building maintenance is the completion of the purchase of a new heat exchange unit. Computer equipment is, since some of the equipment is in the process of purchasing, fewer units will need to be purchased next year. So this year, we thought we were gonna replace all the units. We didn't get to that, so we're moving some of that into next year. And then vehicle and equipment repairs are costing less than anticipated for the fleet, and we only have one vacancy this year as compared to the last 2 years for hiring expense. If there's no questions, I'll move on to the next page, 47 for court department.
hey Tara.
Yeah.
Just to recap our conversation in the group and make sure I understood it correctly. So, the police vehicle leases is currently the only lease amounts we currently have.
Correct.
And if we want to start saving any money away for future vehicles because we know we're gonna need them. We'll need to go through council to set up a reserve account for next year's budget, correct?
Not necessarily, no, because I mean, we keep rolling the old lease into a new lease, so it's on a rotating basis.
But if we wanted to fund that with more than the current lease amount, so that like, even, I'll just throw a number out, so every year we say we're gonna chip in an extra $10,000, knowing that the next lease is gonna be more expensive, or in the off chance we lose a cruiser or whatever, so that we wouldn't have a sudden jump in the budget, or we could eventually save to start buying them outright instead of paying the premium to lease them.
Yes, there's a couple ways you can do this. A reserve fund for, instead of having a reserve fund for just police vehicles, you can have a reserve fund for a lot of improvements. Or you could stick what we do for the public works vehicles into capital was it? Sorry, I'm really. The capital outlay fund, the department. So you have a couple options, but yes, a reserve fund is definitely a viable option.
Okay, but there's another opportunity to just make an adjustment later in the budget to another fund, is what you're saying? If we chose to?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So back to the court department. Increases in membership reflect access to the Justice Clearinghouse education platform for all of our Oregon Association of Court Administrators, which is all 3 of our front office city hall staff, and is now part of the membership dues. And then Judge Lori Kukulis has asked for a small increase of $50 for each court session. There weren't really any decreases to talk about, so the next one, or department, excuse me, is Community Development Department. Decreases in attorney fees is because we are not actively engaged in any property abatement like we had been in previous years. Development will also slow down since the Walker Meadows subdivision will be complete for the end of this year, which follows through to the building permits with Marion County. So then to library.
So what about the rest of George Cam's subdivision?
He did not going at him the same way that Lennar did. Lennar was a rapid, I'll just say rapid expansion, or rapid, they attempted to finish them very rapidly, where Cam to date has handled them in a slower manner, few at a time.
Right.
Decades at a time, depending on which street you're on.
Yeah. Which one is?
Library department, postage was moved from administration to the library. Building maintenance includes the addition of new lights, and both children's and adult programs are seeing increased participation. Decreases include completion of grants for the 3D printer and other specific purpose grants and charges from CCRLS.
Question?
Go for it.
So I know that we moved the ARPA funds for the 3D printer. Jackie, are you still interested in getting 3D printers?
Yeah, I've talked with Mark Brendan and he's gonna put together a proposal for me to go forward with.
Okay, so I don't have to try to guess tonight. We can look at it later.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Parks Department. 4. Increase in building maintenance is to repair the gazebo roof and skirting and add gutters. Equipment is for new bleachers at the soccer field and a teeter-totter at Fisher Park. Decreases for the travel training certification is due to fewer employees needing certification. And then on to Oktoberfest. The increases are very minimal, reflecting just general price increases experienced from employees. So then into the payroll department. The significant decrease in unemployment charges is reflected here. We have not been getting as very many claims for unemployment, so I'm just reflecting what's actually happening. Any other questions on payroll before I move on to the Public Works Allocation Department, which is 0110 on page 58? Okay. Building maintenance increases for building wooden structures for pipe and barricade storage. Flooring installed in the office, an automatic gate at the shops for better security, and moving the camera system monitor into Alan's office. This coming fiscal year marks the beginning of negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement with the Laguna employees, which requires the use of our labor attorney and the associated costs. Computer supplies and services was decreased because computer replacement will be staggered over the next 3 years instead of all at once, like we thought we were going to do in the current year. Travel training certs is because no employees will be taking a CDL course that we can foresee, and vehicle and equipment repairs are less than anticipated last year. Capital outlay. Public works vehicles was increased due to not purchasing any vehicles in this current year, plus they increased the amounts transferred from the street, water, and sewer funds, which you can see the transfer later on. In preparation of the Vector truck lease that will begin with the first payment approximately of $75,000 this fall after delivery of the newly built vehicle. Building maintenance replacements were increased from 2% to 4% of the building's value, with the roof replacement being removed from the Sawhill house since the cost will now be covered by the budgeted percentage.
So is your maintenance and repairs under vehicle operation in then, or because it says maintenance and repairs and there's nothing there?
Say that again?
Maintenance and repairs, there's 100 and then nothing after the next 3 years. And vehicle operations at 18,000 right underneath it. So are we not gonna maintain and repair our vehicles, our public works, or?
They might be in the
Maintenance and
individual, like street, sewer and water.
yeah, maintenance
Because
repairs
this
is,
is all general fund line items right here, right? Because you can't use general, well, you can, but you're supposed to use enterprise funds for it.
well, usually if you're doing a maintenance and repair, it's an enterprise fund specific, so it doesn't need to be here.
Yeah,
And
you use
any
water.
kind of, yeah,
That's why I was asking. So that's an answer to my question.
Okay.
So. thank you.
yeah, sorry, I didn't quite understand it.
It's just for folks that don't know, it's when they see that, they're like, why aren't we
Sure.
maintaining our vehicles and repairing them?
Yeah, vehicle and equipment repairs is a few lines above that. All right, so then we're moving to the library endowment fund, on page 61. The increase in expenses, I'm not covering revenue, I feel like the revenues were pretty status quo, so if you have a revenue question, again, just interrupt me. The increase in expense is due to the interest revenue received. And then the next page, housing rehab loan, fund, the increase is due to interest and a loan was paid off. And then we can move to the street fund, page 64. I would like to take a minute and propose a name change to the streetlight fee that was adopted through the budget process in 2016. The fee was presented to the budget committee as a way for the city to pay for the streetlight system and could be used in order to build up capital and cash for future capital projects. By the name, it appears on the outside that it is only for streetlight fee when the intent was to also help fund projects. Since the revenue has surpassed the cost of only the streetlights, I think it is more transparent to the public to change the name of the fee. Would the budget committee support that change? Instead of, my proposal would be to just call it a street fee instead of a street light fee. So I kind of wanted to put that out there for thought.
Well, I have a question. Okay, so a couple of lights were out in our street and I called them into PGE. The city doesn't pay for that, does it?
It depends on the light pole. So we have 2, possibly 3 different agreements with PGE. Some we physically own, so any repair, replacement, anything is on us and we get a bill. Granted, we have fewer of those. The majority we pay kind of like a lease fee as part of our street lighting program and the cost we get billed for on a monthly basis. as part of our street lighting fee.
Okay, so okay, these would be fairly new, I mean, 20 years old or less, so what kind of agreement do you remember for 20 years or?
It's not by the year, it's probably by development or when one was installed, whoever was signing the agreement decided how we were, whether we were gonna purchase that light or put it as part of our other agreement where we don't pay the costs.
Okay, all right, so in other words, PG came out, did repair them, they may bill you if that's part of the agreement.
Yeah, they know which poles we own, and so if that was one of those poles, we will get a bill.
Okay, thank you.
So do you wanna have that discussion about the fee now or later, or just think about it?
I think the main issue, if you called it the street fee, is that you would get people with the misconception that it's going to fix their streets, and then they're gonna be.
Yeah.
It's been a our conversation about that, well, I pay a street fee, why is it my street fee?
Okay, cause
That's just my only, just
we
thinking,
get people upset that they pay the street light fee. But don't have one on their
you
street.
can't win, right?
Yeah, yeah, so that's good perspective, I appreciate the feedback, so. We can leave it.
I mean, I don't know how you would name it better,
Okay,
but.
okay, as long as, I guess I just wanna make sure that we all know that this fee doesn't only fund the street light costs. Like, does that make sense? Okay,
I think it's a great idea, I just don't know what the right answer is.
got it.
And I think it's worth thinking about, because the other thing too is whatever you do name it, you're gonna inundate City Hall with phone calls the next time the next billings go out.
Okay,
What is this new fee on my bill?
that's true. That's
So let's adequately prepare for that
true. Okay,
before we change it.
And I have to get in there because I've been down that road a few times. When people come in and complain, I don't have a street light near my house. You say it's a citywide benefit because we all get street lights in our community, so.
yeah, we
They want to continue arguing about it, then,
just take it, we have a really good response that
Yeah.
even though it's not one on your street, you do utilize the streets through town when you're driving.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take this for now, that it's leave well enough alone.
But Tara and I, we've had this conversation a couple different times, including tonight, before we come over to the meeting. And we just want to be very transparent, that the fee that we do collect has no money left over. We could very easily, throw into repairing some potholes or a variety of other things. So as things come out. It's not a huge revenue generator, but there is money in addition to what we normally pay for streetlights.
Does that money only go to repair like the potholes, stuff like that, or could it go to something complete like a park or something? So it would just be streets?
It has to be related to like the street, so
What's that?
it has to be related to something for the street.
Correct.
Something
Okay,
that
well,
we
so
pay
then
for out of
that's-
this fund.
And that makes sense.
So if there's some streets that do need lighting, why don't we get lights put up?
We could,
If there's any dead areas in town.
yeah. And we've actually changed some lights out and had them re-engineered and had brighter bulbs put in and things like that. So we do look at that, and I have looked at which poles we're paying for, which poles we're not, how that all works out. And it is one of those things where there's a cost benefit analysis, and where we're at right now is the best place for us to be, truly. Because there's, under the current agreement, I don't want to take over more responsibility, which would create more debt. I think we're doing fine with how things are running right now, but yes, we could use that money to put up additional streetlights. But once again, they're not cheap, because it does require engineering from PGE and all that, so they're great to work with, but cost money.
So for future reference, basically anything that would fall under any of the 11-11 or basically the 11-11 accounts would be eligible to come from that funding source.
Mhm.
If at some point we decided to do something.
Thank you for that discussion. So the increase to vehicle and equipment repair and vehicle operation is for the aging street sweeper, which is up for replacement in 2 years. Sidewalk repair program is budgeted for 5 applications as part of the goals from this year. Railroad Avenue reconstruction is budgeted beginning with this year, but due to the timing of the other grants that we will be applying for, the project will only see preliminary expenditures. The amount budgeted reflects the grant awards that we anticipate receiving. Decreased system improvement is because the paving around the railroad crossing near the fountain will be completed. Yeah, I'm gonna move on to the water fund.
Good question. Will there be any future paving what we're doing both sides of the railroad tracks?
Are you talking about on South Main, right there by the fountain? Well, we have a project that actually is going to be coming in front of council, right?
May,
Yeah,
yeah,
at the May meeting, because it's over $50,000 in value. So I need council's approval so that I can sign the contract.
But my question is, in the future, are we gonna try to do more on both sides of what we're doing?
Talking further down Main and further down Church.
I'm saying it'd be all on South Main, basically from the stop sign to the crosswalk at Napa, because we're probably taking care of the worst part. But you go through there at 25 miles an hour, you feel everything until you get to the crosswalk.
No, we're going to the crosswalk.
Which crosswalk?
The one at,
It takes you now.
yeah, in front of Napa.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going all.
I just recall being 15 feet both sides and the
Oh, no.
3 feet between.
We were able to, because of the true cost of the project and how it came in, because we broke it up into different pieces to see how much we could afford. And based on their estimate, we can afford to go all the way to the crosswalk.
And where does it start? On the north?
It starts at the intersection with North Main and South Main where they come together. And
So
go
basically stop sign to the crosswalk. Okay.
Tara, you're transferring to the general fund for public works vehicle. Right there, 11/11/65/017. So why don't you just pull it straight from your water sewer fund or what's it for?
yeah, so the water, the streets, and the sewer fund all make transfers into the general fund where you can see under capital outlay, there's a public works vehicle fund.
Okay.
That's where all that capital, that's where all the public works vehicle money comes from, is from those transfers.
It just kind of gets into a gray area because you're transferring enterprise funds to general. And it could sometimes get a little messy there. Could be construed as using enterprise funds for other purposes other than for public works.
I'm sure they could, but that's why the account is 480,000, is because I want to show every dollar that's ever been transferred, and that is every dollar.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have a question. Maybe this is for Alan. So in recent years, we've budgeted about $10,000 or planned for a crack sealing program. Is that the same amount, or is it increased, or have you?
It's the same.
It's the same?
Yep. Same footage, same price,
Okay,
same contractor.
okay, thank you. It's ugly, but it's effective.
okay, so water funds. Increase in equipment is for the purchase of a shoring box and a water line project on Sheridan Street. Computers were purchased out of Public Works allocated expense. So we didn't need to budget for it here. And then all other decreases are reflections of current experiences in those categories. So nothing really stood out to me. Is there anything that stood out to somebody that had a question?
Is there are any of the increases I'm seeing in a couple of these counts? Basically, do we have a real number to account for the chlorination future expenses that we're now going to incur? Have we made adjustments for that?
No, not for this fiscal year. So for this upcoming fiscal year, we're just gonna be buying salt. Next fiscal year, I will propose to upgrade the chlorination system at well 7.
Okay.
Because
So this year, you're not gonna come and say, we need more money because of chlorination.
I hope not. I mean, cool. So everything, everything at well 6 is taken care of.
Okay.
So as long as well 7 runs like we're good.
Okay, just with all the talk around chlorination, I just wanted to make sure if we needed money, it was there.
Let me follow that up with another question, if I could, based on our conversation that we had at the public meeting. So how much salt are we anticipating purchasing? And what does that purchase look like? How often?
I don't know yet.
We've purchased salt, though, we've got like 2 pallets of salt currently. So that when we turn the system on, we have salt. What did that cost?
About $600 per pallet.
And are we thinking that a pallet can last us for a month or 2, or has OAWU said anything about that?
They haven't, I don't know. I don't know that yet.
What residual are you maintaining?
What's that?
What residual are you maintaining?
Just a residual.
Just a residual.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'll do 0.002.
Okay, sounds like it's gonna be minimal. I'm good with
and
it.
that's what information, the best information that we have at this point.
Awesome, thank you.
About 58,000 pounds per year.
Sewer fund. The increase in the sewer repair assistance is to accommodate the goal of 10 applications this year. Thus, the increased interest since the program, because of the increased interest since the program was overhauled. The next section of the sewer trunk line project outlined in the CIP list will hopefully begin, since the last section was paid with grant funds. What the city has set aside will now be used on this next section. Consultant services is for the lagoon well monitoring that is required by DEQ every year. But we need to ask for a correction to that due to a recent information this week that we would like to increase that from 7,500 to 16,500. Decreases in the system improvement reflects the $75,000 installation of the new SCADA system and upgraded PLC, which is supposed to be completed by the end of June. Although we are asking through the new amount to replace 2 docks and electrical work to be completed for the pumps out at the treatment facility.
Sorry, where was that one?
That's system improvements,
Got it.
2626.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions on sewer?
I thought we were gonna start relining lines again now. I see that there's no funding for I9.
Well, the sewer project, the sewer trunk line project, if that gets approved, that classifies as an item.
Okay.
I have a question, kind of surprised I didn't catch it earlier. Sludge management, 64,072. Suddenly got a $2 million budget last year. This year we're allocating 2.5. Curious what that is.
The sludge management?
Yeah,
Dallin, you want to just talk about that?
Sure, so the sludge management line item is for removing the sludge out of the lagoon 1 at the wastewater plant.
So because I can't see last year's actual, so so I guess my question is, did we spend 2 million last year and we plan on spending 2.5, or is this one of those where
This,
we had 2 million, we didn't spend it, and we're adding 500,000 because this is saving up for something in the future?
so the unfortunate thing is the budget document, the law only requires you to show what this year's current budget is. So these numbers never show
Right.
either spent or not spent.
Right, so I guess my question is, did that $2 million disappear and this year we anticipate 2.5, or are we just adding 500,000 on top of what we anticipated last year? Okay. I just hadn't noticed that giant number staring at me previously.
Yeah,
That's yeah.
Sludge is expensive.
I got a guy who do it cheap.
Back.
all right, stormwater fund. The cost to install a stormwater line along Railroad Avenue during reconstruction of the street will be paid for by this fund and the corresponding SDC fund. The project plan for this current year did not happen on the advice of our new engineers who will be reviewing the stormwater master plan soon. And then that takes me to the SDC fees, which they really reflect interest earned plus some SDC revenues from the new development, while decreases are a result of expenses towards a qualified construction project or master plan update. And that's the end of my talk. Is there any questions that are remaining out there?
Were we going over page 58?
Did I miss it? I talked about it. I could,
The capital outlay,
oh, 59.
maybe 59?
I thought I did. Did I skip over it? I did. Oh, yeah, I talked about public works vehicles was increased due to not purchasing any vehicles in the current year. And plus the increased transfers from the street, water and sewer funds in preparation of the Vector truck. And then the maintenance and replacements increased from 2% to 4% of the building's value. But I removed the cost to replace the roof on the Sawfield house since the 4% of the building's value will now cover that.
So what is in the 480,000 that could potentially be spent on?
It's just tracking all of the transfers that have ever been transferred from the street, water and sewer. So that they don't get lost in being accidentally allocated for other general fund purchases.
Big one.
Huh?
That's a big one.
Yeah. But 75 of that will be for the Vector truck. And then next year's will be another 75,000, plus he wants to add a lease for a new street sweeper. So
No, not the street sweeper.
in 2 years.
So-
Yeah. So eventually this number will start to decrease faster than he's transferring.
I apologize if you already talked about this, but when it says the city hall replacement, is that like moving somewhere else to sit until you're ready to build city hall? Is that what that is?
Yeah, because we have the property, so we need to start building up and paying for design, engineering, financing. I don't know that we have any specific plans this year to spend this much, but just in case an opportunity presents itself, we're gonna be prepared.
So it's not just getting transferred into like an account that's building that. This is, you're just appropriating that so you could spend it if you needed to.
Yeah,
Got it.
but our hope is to continue to build that year over year.
And can we request an adjustment to, like we did last year, to take it from 50,000 to an additional 100,000, so that would appropriate 550,000?
If the consensus is, yeah,
Okay, I'd like to request that before we're done,
to add another 50,000 on top of the 500.
just because done 2 design contracts for similarly sized projects. Yeah, we need it.
As long as, yep, I mean, I proposed a correction. Alan's proposed a correction, you proposed a correction, and I would say if the budget committee is ready, when they're ready to make a motion, they can say with corrections. And just so we're all clear, any correction or change numbers will always affect the reserve for future use. That will decrease to offset the increase.
Does anyone, I'd like to have a bit of a, does anyone have any problem with adding to that building fund as was suggested on the budget committee? So I think.
Why adding that amount of money? You said you worked on projects.
I do projects for a living.
Right.
And we're gonna need, in order to get a design through construction documents and ready to bid, you're gonna burn almost that whole account. And so just to like the same reason I said last year, just to keep up with the rate of inflation and how fast consultant fees are going up, and only adding $50,000 a year, you're basically not moving. You're only keeping up with inflation at that point.
I guess I'd like to see more data.
Well, the last 2 I did were 673,
No, I mean,
717,000,
no, I mean,
but
there's something
Yeah.
in front of me, not just some verbiage.
no, understood.
Okay.
We should not spend it unless we go through the process to hire somebody. It's just allowing them to spend it.
You know, we haven't bid or even asked for quotes on that at this point, Jim, but if it's not there, we can't cover it. If it's there and it turns out to be more, we don't have to spend it all.
All right.
We're just building that up so that should we need to, we'll be able to, rather than do a supplemental budget or something if things went sideways. So,
Okay.
I mean, we don't have any data really that we could show you that, other than just experience, so.
Okay.
And Jim, they have to get quotes, like if you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a,
3 quotes.
This whole process we have to go through.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Aaron?
so Tara, I guess this is more just a future note for, I assume that the CIP list will be updated once the master plans are updated.
You know, I've never been through a master plan update, so I don't have a good answer for that, but I would sure hope so.
Okay, and then when we update the parks master plan, we will then include some park CIP projects since the master plan did not.
I think it would depend on what the Parks Master Plan calls for. Like if it doesn't call for, oh, okay, if it doesn't call for any projects, then there wouldn't be a CIP list.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Going
you
to,
know, when council prioritizes, you know, the list, I think, yeah, that's exactly what we'll do.
okay, and that's a future conversation I was gonna actually talk to council about is once we get those master plans, scheduling maybe a couple work sessions to take the combined lists and do our best to prioritize them to better guide everybody with their suggested budgets before it ever goes up to the table.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So are we ready to move forward?
Yeah, I don't see any other questions.
Okay. So I will now open the public hearing to accept comments on the use of state shared revenues at 7:50 PM. Oh,
Quiet Siri.
gotta love her.
She wanted to comment.
No, you don't.
Is Siri count as public comment?
Okay, so now that there are comments, and there's nobody online either, right? Oh,
No, I haven't been on
I think we should say, even though we don't have public comments, what are our proposed uses for state share revenues?
They go to general fund expenses,
So they're all set in the general fund
yes,
as a revenue,
yes.
correct, okay. Now,
okay, so I'm now gonna close the public hearing at 7:51 PM. And then, I will now entertain motions.
So can I make a motion to accept the proposed budget with the 3 requested modifications?
There's 4.
Or with all requested modifications?
I've got 3 that I know of, but they will be affected, other changes because of the reserve for future.
Okay, so I make a motion to adopt the proposed budget with the requested modifications that we've heard.
I'll second.
We also,
Do we need to do the ad valorem first?
not I don't.
Okay, okay.
There's an order, but you can do that one.
Okay. Okay, so, we went to the vote.
Sorry, make sure I get all the details. All right. And this is for approval, correct? Okay, Counselor Astorga,
Aye.
Counselor Hofer,
Aye.
Counselor Bow,
Aye.
Student Counselor Hill is absent, Member Whitchurch is absent, Member Kosel,
Aye.
Member Brackenry,
Aye.
Member Ortiz Contreras is absent, Member Bruner,
Aye.
Mayor Wall,
aye,
Counselor Opp,
Aye.
Counselor Donahue,
Aye.
Counselor Eater.
Why are you laughing, Pete?
I'm waiting for it.
it's called, somebody wrote a song once called Anticipation, but I'm just.
I'm gonna vote aye.
He's still.
Way to keep them on the toes, Counselor.
Dawn is not here.
I would like to make a comment as to Tara's excellent preparation of this budget, which is clearly shown through the support of Counselor Eater.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Comment.
Just a comment.
Hopefully it's not on me.
Another
Did
comment.
you do that because this is my last budget?
No.
Oh, I thought you were being nice.
Well, that'd be nice. I would take being on the other side of the fence on this, though.
Yeah,
Okay, so then now, I'll entertain a motion, should I just read that sentence? Okay, to approve, an ad valorem rate of 4.1918 per thousand of assessed valuation to be certified for collection to Marion County.
So moved.
second,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Colby,
All right. Counselor Hofer,
Aye.
Counselor Bow,
Aye.
Student Counselor Hill is absent, Member Whitchurch is absent, Member Kosel,
Aye.
Member Brackenry,
aye.
Member Ortiz Contreras is absent, Member Bruner,
Aye.
Mayor Wall,
aye,
Counselor Opp,
Aye.
Counselor Donahue,
Aye.
Counselor Eater,
Aye.
Counselor Astorga.
Aye.
All right, so I'm going to adjourn the 24-25 City of Mount Angel budget as of 7:55 PM. Thank you. Good job, everyone.